Well, if I were a member of the audience right now, I'd be looking forward to this next half hour where you're going to get to hear the perspective of four people who have been through this Groton experience and have gone on to do some interesting things with their lives. And why don't we begin with some introductions, beginning with the youngest member of the panel. Loazi, can you give your hometown when you were going to Groton, your graduation year, what university you went on to, and if you were doing anything you're doing beyond that? Loazi?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gracie. Hello to everyone. Yeah, my name is Lois Ibululu. I am the class of 2020, Groton. When I was there, I was living in South Africa in a little city called Port Elizabeth, now known as Gqeberha. But Port Elizabeth is easier to say. And I am currently a UNC undergraduate, also a Morehead Cane of the class of 2024. Go Heels, actually beating Duke right now. Oh yeah. Yeah, and beyond, classroom stuff, this summer I actually, part of being a Morehead Cane is you get to explore things in the summer, explore professional experiences, community service experiences, etc. And so in South Africa, I decided to do, because I was not able to come to the US, I decided to do something with an organization in my home country. And so it's called the Click Foundation. It works in the education perspectives arena, trying to change that in terms of increasing children's ability to read for meaning, which is a huge problem in South Africa. And so, yeah, that's been fantastic. I'm actually in communication with them now, trying to work with them also in the winter. So yeah, that's me and what I do.
Thanks, Loazi. Eliza?
Hi, everyone. My name is Eliza. I am class of 2019 from Groton. So I was I happily graduated with a normal prize day before COVID began. I am a sophomore at Yale University because I took a gap year between high school and starting college. I am currently, yes, I'm a sophomore, first semester actually in person. So that is very, very nice. It was definitely hard to go from some of the classes you take your senior year at Groton, especially if they're when you're taking senior selectives, it's with professors and teachers who really, really care what they're teaching. And so going from that to online school felt like, even though I was going to university classes, it honestly felt like a huge shift. And so to be back in person feels so much better and more like the Groton spirit of learning again. And so that's been really nice. I'm from 20 minutes outside of Boston. So I was only about an hour away from Groton. I was a boarder because it would have been a little bit too much to commute, but I was pretty close to home. And I'm now also working in New Haven with a company called the Urban Resources Initiative. And I'm working on it's a tree planting team. It's basically working on some environmental justice work because there's very unequal forestation of New Haven neighborhoods. So we're looking at the health effects that come from having trees just around houses and how that can affect temperatures and health and everything. And so we're trying to increase tree planting basically in some neighborhoods. And that's been really awesome. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Eliza. Nick?
Hey, I'm Nick. At the time of being at Groton, I was originally from Canaan, New Hampshire, and I was boarded for 2 years. And then I was from Groton, Massachusetts, once my dad started working in the admission office. So I know the area a bit. Then I went on to Bowdoin College in Maine, where I had a nice 4 years, and then kind of did sort of odd jobs for a few years, including working with hermit crabs and working at Groton part-time in the admission office. So I'm kind of in industry plant. And nowadays I'm a graduate student at UNC, so a fellow Tar Heel. And I'm studying marine ecology. I just started my second year of my PhD program, and I'm living out on the coast, so a little further away from you, Loazi, but I was living in Carborough last year.
Nick, I think you're actually living close to Ginger.
Oh, yeah?
Is that true, Ginger?
So it's really funny. 75% of us are Tar Heels because I finished my MBA at UNC last year, and I'll actually be in Chapel Hill in a couple weeks for graduation. So the three of us should go out to dinner, guys. Any other Grottonians in your class as well, seriously.
Great. And before you begin, Ginger, I should make it clear that we hired Nick's father after we had a year of having Nick around. We decided the Fennell family was just fine. So, Nick, thanks for setting things up, because your dad's been really good in the office.
Yeah, this is a good long-term investment.
Ginger.
Hi, everyone. I am Ginger Cutler from New York City. So I was about 200 miles. My parents still made the trek fairly frequently, but I felt it was a pretty good distance between me and home when I was at Groton. I went to Georgetown undergraduate. It was in the School of Foreign Service. And after Georgetown, to the chagrin of surprise, I should say, of my parents, ended up joining the Marine Corps and becoming an MV-22 Osprey pilot. So I lived in Japan for 3 years in Okinawa. I came back to the States in 2018 and moved to Eastern North Carolina. So Lois and Nick, if you guys ever go to Topsail Island for beach weekends or whatever, that's my neighborhood. So make sure you give me a call. And I did another deployment last year, but now I have a job as an instructor pilot teaching brand new Osprey pilots to fly the aircraft for the first time. But I will be leaving the Marine Corps next summer in July of 2022, which is really exciting. And then as I referenced, I did complete my MBA earlier this year through UNC Chapel Hill. So go Heels.
Ginger, could you tell the audience about the last time you came by Groton School?
I can, happy to. So, and it's funny, Nick, that you went to Bowdoin, because I was in your old stomping grounds over Labor Day weekend. My squadron had the opportunity to send an aircraft up to Maine for an air show at the, yep, that's me, at the old Brunswick Naval Air Station. And so I was doing some student training en route, but it was a beautiful day. We were going right by. So it was pretty uncomplicated to tell air traffic control that we were going to be descending down to 500 feet and doing a little VFR visit. And it was an amazing feeling to see the chapel coming into view and just to be circling a place I loved so much in an Osprey. It was really definitely a highlight of my Marine Corps career.
It was a fantastic sight for many of us who were around that day, and that video was shared throughout the community. I was actually in Maine hoping to see Ginger, but I couldn't quite pull it off. That air show was really, really popular up in Maine. So thanks for your service, Ginger. All right, folks, let's turn to this question. What is it about Groton that stays with you? We'll get right to the heart of the matter. What are some things that from your experience there that have served you well in the years since graduating?
I think just learning how much the community around you can actually get you through anything. That's a really big lesson that you learn. Groton is definitely hard, but it's always manageable because they provide such a good support system. And then especially when you make friends and they're there for you. I think just learning that going through life, like I really do believe that I could do anything if I have a good support system around me. And I think a lot of that I learned from Groton. And definitely like a lot of my current support system is friends from Groton. So I think that's just an important lesson to learn. Is like, you can be really strong on your own, no question, but there can just be added strength when you kind of add in people around you to care for you and look out for you and everything.
Great. Other thoughts? So
Eliza, you graduated relatively recently from Groton, so it is fair, and that a large part of your support system comes from Groton. I graduated an embarrassingly long time ago, and I can say that a huge chunk of my support system still comes directly from Groton. So when I graduated from flight school, whole bunch of my Groton friends flew down to Texas to celebrate that accomplishment with me. And even on my last deployment, which ended in March 2020, but went through a pretty significant emotional crisis at the end of that deployment. And two of the first people I called when I didn't really know what to do were two of my Groton friends. And so I can say that it's not just the first 24 months after graduation, it's really lifelong, or at least 15 years.
Who are some mentors that really stood out for the four of you?
Everyone is that? No, I feel like that's a bit flippant, sorry. But, oh my goodness. For me, I think for many reasons, one of them being personal, it was Mr. Makrubela and Mrs. Makrubela, of course. First of all, because they're also South Africans, also distantly related to them. But I think this idea, I mean, how they live their lives is incredible in terms of what they do for other people. You know, we talk about service as being one of the core pillars of the Groton experience and the Groton education, and they exemplify that. And it's especially how they view service and how they view charity as not giving of your superfluities, not giving of your excesses, of your largesses, but giving of those things to your brethren, which your necessities themselves cannot afford. They commit their entire lives to Groton, and that has impacted me because I feel like in what I do here at UNC and what I do maybe in my entire life, it won't be just about service for the sake of service, but of giving yourself wholly and entirely to something. I think that is something that has left an incredible mark on me.
I'll pick that up if you don't mind. So Jen Wallace in the history department has been a mentor to me since I was in fourth form. She also went to Georgetown, and throughout my career in the Marine Corps, I have continued to be mentored and to talk to her about global events or my own personal struggles in career progression. And I even got to see her in the Philippines when she was there on sabbatical, but I flew down from Okinawa and we had a fantastic weekend going to Corregidor and just learning and talking constantly about US military history in the Philippines, as well as all across the Pacific. So it's obviously a deep emotional connection, but it's really satisfying to me as well to have these intellectual connections and people that I can still reach out to be like, I am really grappling, like, for example, the events in Afghanistan. She and I have corresponded about that and how I've processed that as a Marine and as someone with a background and deep interest in foreign policy. It's been really amazing to have that continued intellectual mentorship as well as emotional support from my teachers at Groton.
Yeah, I'd add Mr. Black for me into the fold, being a scientist now. I had him in third form for environmental science and then again in sixth form for ecology. And all along the way, I just found him to be a very thoughtful scientist who never lost the fact that it was always really wonderful to be outside. It was balancing the meticulous process of science that you really need to be a scientist, but also the joy of how cool things are outside. So I always looked up to him along the way.
Can you take us back to just some big moments you remember about your lives at Groton? What are some events you could share with people that would give them a sense of the flavor of being at Groton School?
One moment that I just think I felt extraordinarily proud. I play the marimba, which is a percussion instrument. And before going to Groton, I'd never been a huge performer. I just kind of practiced and did lessons and played in my living room. And Groton really pushed me to perform more. I didn't technically have to perform, but Groton gave me all of the opportunities to play in recitals every semester. And then the music department and Miss Lanier helped me set up a senior recital. And so I had a 45-minute recital the end of my senior year. And like all of my teachers who I had any connections with, all of my friends, people from different teams that I'd been on, like everyone came and to watch and support me. And that just, there were so many cumulative moments in my years. And then to kind of, that felt like a really beautiful like top moment where I got to see so many of the people that I cared about who were willing to set aside an hour in like the middle of like crazy hectic AP weeks, like students and teachers are like taking the time. And that, I don't know, that was just a really beautiful moment for me, and to be able to see where Groton had helped me grow and everything like that.
I think that people who graduate from our school leave with a great deal of confidence because you've really been tested in a lot of ways. Academics are demanding, your responsibilities are demanding by the time you're a sixth former, when you have to serve as a prefect and look after younger people. I really like that feature. I imagine you four felt pretty good about the level of education you had when you entered your universities. Is that correct? I also like the fact that when you, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Loazi, do you have something? Oh, okay. The other thing that I like is how much you end up doing things you never thought you'd do before. Did any of you have experiences like that where during your time at Groton?
Yeah, I mean, I had many of those along the way because I sort of learned like how cool it was to just join random things, and that's why I started doing like liberal arts school as well. But in my senior year, when I got concussed during a hockey season, I couldn't really do anything. I wound up joining a random a cappella group that just like founded in the middle of the winter. It was just a bunch of friends, and some of them were fantastic singers, and I wasn't. And we like performed in chapel and everything like that. It was just like I would have never like guessed that I would have done that from when I came to Circle in the first place.
What was the name of that group?
Went through many iterations. I think at that time it was the Macapellas.
Yeah.
After Mr. Macapella.
Macapellas, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of a one and done.
I can pick that up as well. And this speaks to a pretty, I think maybe emblematic moment in my Groton experience. But my sixth form year, I was on the student activities committee, and middle of the winter in rural Massachusetts is something of a dreary place. And we were like, we need to liven things up. We need to have a rock, paper, scissors tournament. And maybe at most places that would be a non-starter, but it was wild. So for Monday to Friday, or really Saturday morning as well, every roll call, we had a full skit. One of them was Rocky themed. And so we had a sixth former dressed as Rocky Balboa against some second formers who were very game. Anyway, a lot of public relations went into creating a lot of hype. And then Saturday night, at least 275 people showed up to the Campbell Performing Arts Center to watch a rock, paper, scissors tournament. And it was one of my four mates who won. And I guarantee you that she remembers now what she threw in the final round. So one, things you don't really see anyone, let alone yourself, being in charge of and spearheading and turning into a wildly successful event. But two, kind of a good emblem or indication, I think, of the strength of the community, that it's really not so much like what you are doing or the endemic coolness of the activity. It's more about the people who are putting a lot of energy into it and the community getting on board, whether because they were like, hey, you know what, like Ginger's done a lot of roll call announcements, we gotta support her, or like, hey, you know what, like maybe this will be funny, the roll call announcements were funny and the flyers have been everywhere, like we gotta go to see what actually happens at this rock, paper, scissors tournament. So I think that is only possible at a small school with a really close-knit community. Certainly would never have been a thing at Georgetown University. So it's something I remember fondly, and I'm glad that I got to experience in a close-knit community during my high school years.
Great. Do the four of you have any advice for people who are thinking about going to boarding school now and thinking about Groton in particular?
I would just say do it, like 100% do it. I don't know. I have an older sister and she went to like our local public school. And she's 4 years older than me. So part of my thinking about boarding schools, I didn't know how I'd feel being an only child. But I mean, I like really get along with my parents. And so it kind of came out of the blue to everyone in my life when I brought up boarding school. But I think Groton is the most likely place to go away to school, but not have it feel like the scariest thing ever. Like it's obviously nerve-wracking at first, but you can create a home pretty quickly because of the size and everything. And I don't know, it was such a random decision of mine to go. It's not something I'd ever thought about doing. And it's like one of the best things I ever did. So definitely consider boarding school. It's just it's tighter community than college because of the size usually, even if you go to a bigger one. And so then even Groton on a smaller level, it's just like it's an amazing time. Yeah.
Thanks.
And as you're looking at schools too, definitely key into the community aspect of it. Like that was what attracted me to Groton so much in the first place, of how warm I felt on the tour and every time that I went to campus, whether for revisit day. And that held true like throughout my entire 4 years there. And then I became like living there as well. So it sort of became like my actual family in some ways. And like Eliza and Ginger were saying earlier, like they're still my best friends. And so what sort of the promise of Groton was to me of like a very warm, inclusive and like gentle community is like what I got and I still have. And so wherever you find that, like I'd pursue that.
Yeah, I think in this process of choosing where you want to go to high school and which boarding schools you want to choose, I think sometimes it can be very easy to think about the brand, to think about what the name on your diploma will be. I got a degree from so-and-so, but also consider the value, personal value of education. And I think Groton, maybe but I'm biased, but is at the top in terms of the value you get out of it. You know, it's the assurance that after 4 or 5 or 3 years, you will end up being the person you probably were always meant to be. You'll be taking a path that is just for you. And I feel like that's hard. That's a guarantee that Groton offers, and that's a guarantee sometimes that other places that don't offer. I am so happy with the outcomes I have and the person I am today because of that experience, because of the confidence that Groton gave me.
Yeah, Lawazi, I think that's really well said. And I will just kind of be blunt because I don't work for Groton, so it can be blunt, but Groton is not about getting into college at all. It's about the experience you're having there. And yes, it sends students to the top schools in the nation, and that requires a certain amount of preparation that takes up a lot of time and towards the end of your experience. But my Groton experience was phenomenally valuable and important to me, and is completely separate from the fact that I ended up at one of my top schools. So I would suggest do not choose a high school based on where you think you want to go to college or the prestige of the universities that a school sends its graduates to. Focus on the experience you're going to have at Groton, because that is without a doubt the most important thing. And so really be mindful. I think Lawazi gave really, really great advice, and Nick's point about like, go where you feel connected. If you have a great experience in high school and walk away with a really strong community and set of friends around you, you'll be successful no matter where you end up in college.
Well, that's a pretty good place to stop right now, I'd say. Ms. Chica, do we have some questions from the audience we might address?
Yes, there's one that I think is relevant. It says, does the school have any programs which connect students to internship/mentorship opportunities in certain fields of career interests, i.e. engineering, business, conservation, etc.?
There is. Oh, I was going to say there is an alumni network, and you can like just go on a website basically, and you put in your information and what you're interested in. And alumni, when you're a new alumni, it connects you with older alumni who are like in these different career areas, and who are all willing to talk to younger students. So there's kind of a mentorship aspect in that if you want to connect with an older alumni and talk about their experience, and most Groton alums like definitely want to help each other out. So I would say I haven't personally yet like utilized it, but I know it's there, and I think some of my friends have talked to older alums and about their experiences and their just like their tracks in jobs and everything, and that's been helpful for them. Yeah.
Good. Right. Next question.
Yes, in the chat, Loaz, I think this question could be relevant to you. It says, anyone join the school in second form? What kind of support was important to you? What support is or was available to second formers?
Oh my goodness. My second form year, I will not lie, is probably one of my favorite years at Groton. It's one of the reasons I became a second form prefect in my senior year. And we can just start here. Your prefects, they are your older brothers. They're there for you. They clue you into the little things that aren't written in handbooks about how you live a life at Groton. It's 8th grade, by the way. But they're so helpful, your prefects. Cool story, when I first got to Groton, Mr. Gracie had in the Brooks house little courtyard, a little bike with a little note for me. And it was just a little gift for me, to help me get around, to get, some sense of mobility in this foreign place. And that was fantastic. And so faculty are always there for you. My second form, my advisor, who I stuck with my entire year, was so helpful, inviting us over to his house for meals, talking about, getting to know Groton. It's all around you. And because it's such a small grade, 27 of you in total, you go to dinner together, go to breakfast together, have the same classes together, have the same free time. You join extracurricular activities together because you want to try things out. And so you are like a cohort, and it's kind of like it's called summer camp because that's the feel of it. It's so tight knit. It's wonderful. I highly recommend it.
Great. Ms. Chica, do you feel like we have to wrap things up because we have to move to the open forum? Is that right? Or do we have a minute?
Yeah, I think we could do one more question. And then I do think we have to wrap it up.
Do you have one? Or?
Yes. And it says, could you or anyone talk about how your experiences at Groton influence you when you become a parent? So I'm not sure if that means like when you yourself have a child, or perhaps when you become a parent of a student at Groton. So let's interpret the question as we wish. Could anyone speak to maybe like what their Groton experience, how it's shaped like your family's perspective of the school, or how you might want to raise your own family?
I don't have children, so I can't really speak to that. But Carolyn, if you do want me to pick up on the family aspect of it, my brother and sister both went to Groton. Nick, you may know my sister Hope. She was class of 2012. And my father actually had gone to Groton. So it was a cool thing that we had in common, I think. Mm-hmm. It was a valuable experience for us to be at Groton together.
Yeah. Well, in U4, we see people who have gone on to follow the thoughts behind the motto, which is to serve is to rule. We are really proud of what you have done after graduation. You were terrific people here, and I'm so happy that you were able to join us and give our audience a good sense of Groton School.
So without further ado, I am going to share a video from Allison McBride.
Hello from Groton's Alumni Office. My name is Allison McBride, and I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement. Groton has an incredibly close and connected alumni community made up of roughly 4,000 individuals. Currently, alumni live in 50 countries around the world and in 49 states, plus Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and on U.S. military bases. Alumni stay connected and support the school in a variety of ways. We have around 200 alumni volunteers who support the school by staying connected with their formates, hosting in-person and virtual forum gatherings, writing forum notes for our quarterly magazine, and soliciting their peers for gifts to the school. Annually, and on average, 50% of alumni give back to the school by making gifts to the Groton Fund. This is an incredibly high percentage and something that we are very proud of as a school. We host an on-campus reunion event each spring for 1/5 of our alumni base, although this June we're planning to host 3/5 of our alumni base to make up for missing the last 2 years. It will be exciting and unique. Typically, Reunion is a well-attended, family-friendly event and brings roughly 500 people to campus over the course of the weekend. In addition to our school-hosted receptions, we have a growing community of alumni gathering by region, and currently we have chapters in Boston, Chicago, New York, and Washington, D.C. that host networking, service, and social events. Right now, all of their programming is virtual, but they are looking forward to hosting in-person events soon. Last year, the Alumni Office expanded our offerings to host an alumni book club, one per term, a virtual sit-down dinner, and virtual mini classes offered by our faculty. Groton also has an incredibly strong career networking program with the goal of helping alums seeking career advice and mentorship. I'm continually impressed with the enthusiasm alumni have for this program and the lengths they will go to support fellow Grotonians. Groton's notable alumni include our 32nd president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who is a member of the Forum of 1900. Other politicians include Representatives Bobby Scott from Virginia and Jim Cooper from Tennessee. The current Manhattan District Attorney, Cyrus Vance Jr., is a member of the Forum of 1973. Actors Sam Waterston, Bill Camp, and Alexandra Paul attended Groton, as well as authors Curtis Sittenfeld, Ben Coase, and Louis Auchincloss. In the food world, Sprinkles Cupcake founder Candace Brown Nelson and Food 52 creator Meryl Stubbs Dorman both attended Groton. Clearly, we are really proud of our alumni. In addition to working with alums, I run an upper school girls dorm here on campus. I love being part of the community here and getting to know our amazing students. One of my favorite parts of my day job is getting to keep in touch with students after they've graduated to college and beyond. In a typical year, I get to travel to colleges around the country and treat our alums to dinner and conversation. It is always a great time, so much reminiscing about Groton. The Groton community and family extends beyond the circle in so many ways, and I'm always moved by the close relationships Grotonians have with one another. The former president of the Groton School Alumni Association, Andrea Picott, Forum of 1990, said it best: Groton friends become friends for life. It's so true. Thank you all so much. Have a good rest of your program.
Wonderful. And I see some questions popping up in the Q&A box. So as a reminder, we'll be here moderating that as best we can throughout the program. But I will now pass the mic to my colleague, Rob O'Rourke.
Great. Thank you so much, Chica. Thanks for the opportunity to participate this afternoon. Again, my name is Rob O'Rourke. I am Associate Director of College Counseling. I've been here at Groton for 8 years. And really, it is such a pleasure to have the opportunity to work with our incredible students here on the circle. So I'm happy to tell you a little bit about our program, trying to focus on some of the things that we think are distinctive about our college counseling program on campus. So, you know, I think that we often say that we think college counseling is the best job on an independent school campus because we have the opportunity to really accompany students on a really powerful, meaningful journey where they have the opportunity to think about what matters to them, their goals, their values, their dreams, their hopes, and really try to imagine, you know, what their next 4 years could look like in a place that really fits for who they are and who they are becoming. So that, I think, is the core of what we do in our office. And it really is remarkable to watch students grow over the course of their experience from the middle of their junior year to the, you know, when they are on the prize day stage. A couple of things just to mention, dimensions of our program that we think are important. You know, you've heard that our size is a tremendous strength at Groton, and I think that holds very much true in college counseling. We have very small ratios. The three of us in the college counseling office work with about 30 students, so we can really get into the weeds, work very closely, meet very frequently with students to really understand their stories and to really best support them and all of their needs through the process. You know, the other thing that's really valuable about our size is that the three of us get to know all of our students across the class. So, you know, the three of us, you know, not only work in college counseling, but we are dorm heads and affiliates. We have been coaches. We have led global education programs. I also oversee the community engagement program on campus. We have been teachers. So when students come to us in their middle of their junior year, they really likely have already had a connection with us. And so we also, you may have heard that we meet each and every term as a full faculty to talk about every student on campus, to hear about their progress. And so those are things that we're able to soak up so that we know students so well as we're looking to support them. We also work really closely together as a team. So we want students to feel like they can come into our office and chat with any one of us, to get a perspective from any one of us at any point in time on their writing, on their list building, that we are all here to answer their questions and support them. So, and our students are great about taking advantage of that and coming in and meeting with any of us who are available to help them talk through a particular issue or question. We do start the process with students in the sophomore year and the fourth form year. We don't formally assign them to a counselor, but we meet with every fourth former really to begin talking about their standardized testing, which does come up a bit early in the process, their course scheduling, really to offer another set of eyes, another perspective on their scheduling for their junior and senior year. And also to work closely with students who might have specialized interests. So students who maybe are potentially recruited athletes who might need some support a little bit earlier in the process, maybe artists or musicians who are going to begin building a portfolio as a part of their process, maybe students who are looking for internship opportunities in the summer or work experiences that they would like to take advantage of. So we'll work with students to brainstorm on those things. We jump into the junior year with students, again, some standardized testing happening early in that fifth form year, some group meetings with students, and then we kind of launch the process in December. And the beginning of the process is our favorite time with students. We love that chance to connect, to hear from students. Again, it's that chance to just allow them to open up about what they are hoping for with the process. And so that's a, you know, the winter is a bit cold at Groton, but it's really bright in our office because we have the chance to have those conversations with students. We continue throughout the junior and senior years to have both group and individual meetings, making sure we're providing all of the resources, tools, answering all of the questions that students have as they're, again, building their lists, preparing to visit campuses, doing their research, and then moving into the application process, writing essays, those kinds of things. So moving through the summer into the fall of their sixth form year. In the sixth form year, in addition to those things, we offer college fairs. We've offered those for quite a few years, and typically in a given fall, we might have 100 or more colleges that are visiting our campus, which is an incredible opportunity for our students. We've had virtual mini fairs in recent years, actually for both fifth and sixth form students to connect virtually with college reps who get a chance to really get to know our students. And what we hear time and again from college reps is how much they enjoy spending time with our kids, the great questions our students bring to the table. And so we're grateful to our students for taking advantage of that. We also support students in the financial aid process, which has multiple layers. And one of my colleagues, Mark Macon, actually does work with one of our organizations in the state that does training around financial aid. And so we are here to support every step of the way when it comes to the financial aid process as well. I would leave you knowing that a couple of things. Our goal is that students feel like they are getting the same level of support, regardless of who they are, their background, their goals, that we want every student to feel supported, to feel like they have autonomy in the college process, to feel like they are driving the process in the way that they want, and that they feel that we are in their corner to support them along the way. So it's really a pleasure and privilege to have the opportunity to support our students in this way. It's great to see some familiar faces here on the panel, and I'm more than happy to answer other questions you have about our college counseling program. So I'll pass it back to Chika at this point in time. Thanks so much.